and welcome to Altcoin Buzz with me, Layah Heilpern, to our very new interview segment, Altcoin Buzz Spotlight. Don't forget to drop us a comment below to tell us who you want us to interview next, and don't forget to hit like as it helps us grow our channel. Joining us today is Alex Mashinsky, the founder of Celcius Network, a serial entrepreneur with over $3 billion in exits, and a tech innovator with 52 patents. Alex Mashinsky, great to have you today. How are you doing?
Great. Thanks for having me.
Absolute pleasure. Now, lots to go through. It is a very interesting time right now with everything that's going on. We've seen the markets move. So I want to start with Bitcoin and the Bitcoin hash rate because it has been dropping and many miners are actually closing shop. So what is your opinion on Bitcoin, the price of it and the network?
Well, I think there is a lot of movement, right? I mean, I think we've seen the volatility in the stock market cause a lot of speculators to having to go to cash or liquidate some of their Bitcoin. They liquidated gold, they liquidated stocks, bonds. So no matter what they had to basically cover margin calls and things like that. So and that's because that we've seen this flash crash. It was exacerbated basically on platforms like BitMEX, which liquidated over $1 billion worth of longs through this flash crash. But now we're the field has been cleared, right? We had a fire brush, but the field has been cleared, and I think the hodlers are still sticking around buying coins. Celcius Network is a platform for hodlers. We have not seen almost any withdrawals. All we're seeing is hodlers buying more coins. On the hash rate side, the miners who were betting on a big surge before the halving basically, I think, realized that because of the economic activity, it's just not going to happen. And they're all going to be facing half the amount of Bitcoin that they were making through May, after the end of May. So some of them just decided, forget it, it's not worth waiting for the recovery. I'm just going to shut down. And if I have older machines, or if I cannot compete with these giant new mining pools that have been created in Texas and other places, I have to basically, so all the small guys basically had to close shop. So we're seeing basically a transition from smaller regional guys to more like larger players who are dominating the mining industry.
And you speak about hodlers, and I think it's usually the hodlers that you hear talk about Bitcoin as this safe haven asset. But I think right now it's particularly interesting because a few weeks ago, we saw Bitcoin at 8K, drop down to around 4K, and it's back up, so slightly back up. So what are your thoughts? Do you really think it is a safe haven asset, and was it even made for that purpose in the first place?
Well, look, you can't look at it in the context of 1 or 2 months, right? If you look at it over the last 11 years, the best performing asset class is Bitcoin, right? So it's up 9 million% in a decade, better than any stock, better than any bond, better than any precious metal. But if you take a much shorter snapshot of 1 or 2 months, yes, there are many scenarios during which Bitcoin is not behaving as an exceptional store of value. And obviously the last 2 months have been exactly that, right? We've seen it run from 3,500 to 14,000 and then come back down to 3,500, right? And now it's back to the 6,000-7,000 level. So I think in the short term it does move a lot, but in the long term it does perform better than anything else as a long-term store of value. Just remember, the US dollar is a horrible store of value. Since 1970, when it went, and 71, when it went off the gold standard, it lost 92, 93% of its value. It's losing its value consistently every year, but it's an exceptional form of payment.
So just comparing, the different coins there, and I guess, talking about fiat currencies as well, a lot of assets are correlated. Some people say that Bitcoin isn't. So do you think that it's correlated to the stock market?
Well, so the speculators caused it to be correlated. If you think about our community, we have basically the anarchists, we have the libertarians, we have the hodlers, and then we have the speculators. And the speculators are, I would say, 35% of the entire community, but they do most of the movements, right? They trade every day, they buy futures, they short it, so they move the price. The hodlers don't do anything, so they don't move the price. So again, all of this exaggerated movement of the flush, the cleansing of all of these people was because it was an extreme situation, right? Everybody got scared, everybody tried to run to the doors at the time. Everybody, I mean all the speculators, and we flushed through that. Right now they're gone. They lost their money, or they took their cash and went back from crypto land to fiat land. Right. So what's left are the hodlers, the anarchists, the libertarians, who are here for a very, very different reason. The people who are going to take us to new highs are not the institutions and not people that somebody new that's going to show up. It's more of the same. It's more hodlers. It's more of the same people that we have. It's not going to be the speculators that are going to take us to a consistent new high. And when you look at inflation, just one more point, because I think it's important for people to understand, the dollar already has all of its users. The user base for the dollar is not growing. If anything, it's shrinking because China and other countries are taking a little bit of market share out of the dollar. The Bitcoin, the Ethereum, has many, many new users every day. The user base is growing much faster than the inflation rate. So if you think of the inflation rate for Bitcoin being something like 4 or 5%, going down to maybe 3% after the halving, the rate of increase in users is bigger. And because of that, it's a deflationary currency because of a limited supply. So it's all about what's growing faster, the user base or the number of coins in circulation.
So I just want to continue and kind of just explore this area a bit more, because you mentioned, taking it to new highs. So if, firstly, people say, well, Bitcoin will get back up to 20K. Some people say 100K. So firstly, where do you think it's going to go, and what are the factors that are going to push it? So, you've gotten rid of speculators. So what are the factors going to be other than hodlers?
So look, I've been saying the same thing consistently since the end of 2019 and 2020. You can see videos of me on the NASDAQ channel, Trade Talks and others, where I consistently said that we're going to go down first, and then we're going to go to new highs after the halving. And I don't see that happening until July or August, because a lot of miners and a lot of other people hedged their positions. So they're actually going to be selling into the halving instead of buying. And then we see a resurgence because we're going to see only buyers left, right? The supply is going to get cut by half, and you're going to continue seeing that consistent growth. We're seeing consistent growth. Our user base is growing 3-4% week over week without us doing anything. We don't advertise, and it's the same kind of growth rate for the entire community. So that tells you that the people who are joining this are not scared by the coronavirus or by the economic recession or by things like that. So as that user base continues to grow and the supply, the halving causes supply to go from 25 coins every 10 minutes to 12.5 coins every 10 minutes, that is a huge impact. You will see that right away. So I'm expecting $20,000 to $30,000 by the end of this year, but most of that is going to be in Q4.
Okay, well, some very exciting predictions there. So just looking at the present now, with everything that's going on, we've seen the markets crash, and to try and fight this crisis, the US Senate actually passed a $2 trillion stimulus package. Now, you do have some concerns about this, don't you?
I definitely do. I think, look, I've seen the 2008 recession, the 2000 recession, 1991. I lived through all of these, and this one is worse than all the others, right? Because it's both a huge shock to the supply side and to the demand side. And usually you don't have both of them happen overnight, where we just shut down the whole world, right? And what the world banks are doing, they're kicking the can down the road. Well, this time they're kicking the whole planet down the road, because they're printing tens of trillions of dollars that are not really generating GDP. We're not building new bridges and new factories and new technology with this money. This money just plugs the hole. And most of the money is not going to you or me, right? If you take 2.2 trillion and you divide it by 230 million Americans, the average family should get $20,000. But the average family in the US is only getting $1,200. So the most of that money is actually going to bail out corporations and bail out the same people that got us into this trouble. You see, the large corporate users of corporate America borrowed $7 trillion between 2008 and 2020 to buy back their own stocks, so they could prop up, increase the prices of their stock to enrich the executives and enrich the shareholders. And when the music stopped, we, the people, all of us around the planet, now have to bail out the richest people in the world. So that does not make any sense. And that's why Satoshi created the Bitcoin in 2008, you know? And
I just want to jump in. That's actually what I wanted to just ask you about then, because like you said, you know, you've seen all these, you've seen the last financial crisis, you saw it, you were there for it. So a lot of people say, like you've just said, crypto was sort of born out of that. So how do you think crypto will fare from what's going on now? Do you think anything new will be born from this?
Well, this is our opportunity, right? But the community, the crypto community, is too small to really transform the world economy to be based on Austrian economics instead of Keynesian economics, right? And the central banks are saying more Keynesian. Let's pump the bubble back up, right? And we know that that's not the solution. So the call to action for all of your viewers is that to do something about it. This is the time you're spending with family and friends, and you're online all day because you're stuck at home. This is the time to convince people, or at least introduce them to this whole notion that there's a different system, that it does not have to be controlled by the central bank or by the government. We, the people, all over the world, can get together and create something that acts in our best interest. And Bitcoin and Ethereum and things like that are acting in our best interest, right? So these are the opportunity. We have the opportunity. Now the question is, are we going to grow the community 10 times? You know, despite the coronavirus, despite all this economic destruction, or are we just going to let the central banks do exactly what they've done last 3 or 4 times? It's just that now it's 10 times bigger. The Fed printed in the last 2 months more money than it did in 120 years. 3 times more money than it did in 120 years. So this is not going to end well. It's not going to end well for the average Joe. I guarantee you that the very, very rich are going to walk away without any scratches on them from this entire fiasco.
So I guess, you know, like you said, a real opportunity for crypto to prove its value, to prove its worth. While we are all stuck at home with our family and our friends, you know, we can, I guess, show them this and explain, you know, why crypto is so important. I just want to move on to focus on Celcius Network, because in Celcius Network, people can actually take loans on their cryptocurrency collateral. So this drop in the Bitcoin price must have many liquidations on your platform. So can you share the amount of loans last month and the amount actually now?
So 90% of our business is actually just earning interest for the users, right? So if you think about global central banks lowering rates to zero, I'm sure it's like zero rate in the UK. It's zero. It's negative rates in most of Europe. And it's now almost zero rates in the United States. You cannot earn money on your money, right? And that's because the banks, the central banks, are pushing it down to make sure to force you to deploy your money into real estate or other things. So Celcius came and said, no, you can. You can take British pound, you can take US dollar, you could buy a stable coin on and deposit it on the Celcius Network platform and earn 7, 8, 9%, right? So that's 20 times more than your bank pays you. So the main solution we provide for the average person, and that's why I always say it's much easier to bring somebody new into stable coins and convince them to buy a Bitcoin, right? So the main solution is, hey, earn some yield, real yield on your dollars or pounds. Then step number 2 is, okay, now that you know how digital currencies work, stable coins, look at Ethereum, look at Bitcoin, right? A deflationary, decentralized solution to replace the dollar or anything else. So I think we do issue loans, but that's a much smaller part of our business, loans to our community. We issue a lot of loans to institutions and hedge funds. And we've had a record month in March. We had a record quarter We announced that we're profitable, and all these things are good for our community because Celcius, unlike anyone else, takes 80% of what we make, buys BTC, buys ETH, and gives it to all of our users. We distribute every week 80% of what we make.
So I want to continue then, just focusing on this and the utility. Because, just talking about the currency of Celcius Network, people can actually get better rates, as you mentioned, especially, comparing to the fiat rates that we've seen across Europe. So can you tell me more about the utility of the token? Any more interesting utilities that you have coming up?
Sure. So first, our website, Celcius.network, has 7 utilities, all the full description of what we do. But the main utility is you can earn more interest. So if you want to be paid, right now, the easiest thing is just to get paid Bitcoin and Bitcoin, Ethereum on Ethereum. But I want to be paid in Cel token, which is the Celcius token. And then you get 20-30% bonus, meaning you earn even more, right? So instead of earning 7%, you may earn up to 9% and so on. Celcius is a real community of hodlers. You can see what other people are doing. We're full transparency. You can, if you log into our app, you'll see exactly how many depositors we have, how much we have on deposits, how many loans did we issue, how much did we earn, did we actually give 80% back to the community? And that's something that no bank or no financial institution has done in the last 700 years, is give its depositors most of its money, right? What banks do is they charge you fees, they charge you interest, and then they give it all to their shareholders or to the executives, right? So we build the opposite of that. We help you unbank yourself, and that's what every person has to understand. When you use your credit card, when you use your checking account, when you use your online bank, you're empowering the bank. You're giving them the power to continue doing what they're doing and have all these abusive practices of basically taking leverage and risking our money and getting in trouble, and then us having to come back again and again and bailing them out. So you want to replace that, stop using those things, and use services, community services that are acting in your best interest.
It's that key word, isn't it? Community service, just acting in your best interest, and I guess giving you the autonomy and transparency over your own assets, really. So a lot of exciting stuff. But what can we expect from Celcius Networks in the next coming 6 months?
So we're adding the ability to buy with SEPA, for example, or ACH. So you'll be able to actually direct money straight from your bank account. That will lower the fees. You'll be able to buy these coins right on our platform instead of having to buy them on Coinbase or Binance or somewhere else. We're also adding additional coins, so both coins that generate staking yields, so they earn by themselves. It's not just because Celcius is earning yield, but these coins like Dash and EOS and others that we're adding that just naturally earn yield, and we pay you most of it. Other people charge you 25% of what you earn. We give you almost 100% back. And we're also adding gold coins. So gold coins, this will be the first time that gold earns yield in gold. So your gold earns more gold every month, every week. And that product never existed in the history of using gold as a safe asset, right? So these are all services that, again, are helping you diversify, have non-correlated assets, and they always act in your best interest. We don't charge any fees. No origination fees, no transaction fees, no withdrawal fees, and you're not going to find any other service that doesn't charge you fees. Everybody else makes money from charging you fees. We actually have to earn that yield, and then we get to keep a little bit of that, giving you most of it. So I'm very excited. 2020 looks great for us. Again, we have 85,000 users from all over the world, over 170 countries. England is a huge country for us. And we have a few employees there as well. And we used to say, hey, come and visit us, come see us. But now you have to watch these videos, or at least wait until we can all meet in person.
Oh, absolutely. So it's great to hear, that the next coming few months are looking really lovely for Celcius Network, because in such a crazy time right now, it's great to hear some positivity actually going around. Just finally, I want to get your opinions on MakerDAO, because it provides decentralized loans on Ethereum smart contracts. So what are your thoughts on MakerDAO and just the DAI ecosystem?
So look, we love DeFi. Celcius is very similar to a lot of these DeFi projects. We use a smart contract. We use multi-sig. We use MPC for security and things like that, which are all the same services that DAI and Compound use, right? And I think what happened in this recent shakeout was that the vulnerabilities or the problems with the pure DeFi model have been unraveled, right? And you've seen specifically DAI, specifically Maker, add USDC as a stabilizer, a centralized coin as a stabilizer to enable them to basically not have that volatility that they experience. Like their model is exaggerated when things are good, right? They're collateralizing ETH, but when things go bad, basically there's the liquidations force liquidations, and it causes the tokens not to be stable. So just like Maker basically took a hold in the centralized world because they had to grab an anchor, wrapped away. And Celcius has been doing that from the beginning. Celcius has one leg in the centralized world, one leg in the decentralized world, and we hope to continue acting as a bridge, bringing people who are not very familiar with the crypto world. And we do need to continue supporting our existing ecosystem as well as continue bringing new people if we want this to go to new highs.
Alex Mashinsky, thank you so much for giving us your thoughts on Bitcoin and on the market right now and providing us with some inside information on Celcius Network. Thank you so much.